UFC Fight Night, Sunday, 8th of February, 3 a.m. Standard Time, and I'm going to give my predictions on the UFC Fight Night card. Before that, I just want to quickly run down how my predictions went for the previous card, UFC 325. Now, if we look at UFC 325, my first prediction was that Tai Tuivasa would win against Thaleson Teixeira. Now, I went completely opposite in that regard. Tai Tuivasa came out guns blazing, but he was just not landing any blows, looked tired. Thaleson was doing all the work in rounds 1 and 2. When it came to round 3, Thaleson really stopped his momentum that he had in round 1 and 2, allowing Tai Tuivasa to sort of capitalize. I mean, he really wanted that win. He was trying hard, but he was so tired at the end of round 3, and same as Thaleson. And unfortunately, Tai lost his match. This is his 7th loss in a row. Guy hasn't fought in a year. Took a year to just recenter himself, and in that year he even admitted that he did nothing. But Thaleson Teixeira's performance, even though he got a win, it looked very horrible. The guy has no technique. He is a very weak opponent. Tai Tuivasa should have won that match, and Ant could defeat Thaleson Teixeira. He's not going any places in the UFC, in my opinion, humble opinion. And I believe that Thaleson Teixeira, he's going to get stopped when he climbs higher in the division, definitely. And I really would have liked to see a Tai Tuivasa win, but we move. Next up was my prediction on Rafael Fiziev versus Makhrushya Rufi. And I predicted that Rafael Fiziev would win against Makhrushya Rufi. Alas, it was not to happen. Round 1 did go to Rafael. He put the burners on and he was going, throwing leg kicks, nice takedowns, his right hand, left hands were landing. He was dominating Makhrushya Rufi round 1 completely. It was a 10-9 round effortlessly for Rafael Fiziev. But then round 2 happened, and for the most part of round 2, Rafael was winning. He was dominating, clear victory in sight for him. It was an easy day for him. And then Makhrushya Rufi lands a blow that just sends Rafael to the canvas. Makhrushya capitalizes on that moment, takes a top mount and just delivers ground and pound. And then Rafael couldn't really protect himself, and the referee steps in, calls it a technical knockout. Now, I never would have thought that would happen. To think that Rafael, while he was dominating round 1 and most of round 2, would then suddenly just collapse from a blow and then lose, that was not foreseen. But respect to Makhrushya Rufi for getting Rafael to the point where his guard could be cracked and for winning. So not too happy about that prediction, but I'm satisfied with the performance that Rafael exhibited. He shows that he's definitely top lightweight material, even though he won't be fighting for the championship anytime soon, if ever. It shows that he's still a lethal opponent. Moving on to the co-main, Daniel Hooker against Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, I said that Dan Hooker would win, and I am not unhappy that he lost. Benoit Saint-Denis did win, and this was a match that was very, very good. Whole of round 2 and almost the whole of round 1. Sorry, the whole of round 1 and almost the whole of round 2. Benoit and Saint-Denis and Dan Hooker went to war. These guys, that was one of the best matches I've seen in a long, long time. Easily match of the year in terms of brutality and just pure MMA. And Benoit Saint-Denis did end with a nice ground and pound over Dan Hooker. He had him in an arm lock at one point, and Dan Hooker did not tap. He dug deep for his reserves and he did not tap. And Benoit just tightened, and then he went out of the grip and then proceeded to top mount and then just landed elbows, and that was an exciting match. So Benoit Saint-Denis winning that match. And then moving on to the main event, Alexander the Great Volkanovski against Diego Lopez. Now, I said that I really hoped that Diego would win, but I knew that Alex would win, but I really hoped in my heart that Diego would win. But of course, Alex Volkanovski won, showed his experience and just his grit as a champion. He's now, I think, with no debate from anyone who's who, that Alex Volkanovski is the GOAT of featherweight. No one's done what he's done in featherweight ever. There's no contention to say that Alex is not the greatest of all time when it comes to the featherweight division. In no one's book is he anything but the great Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Diego Lopez put up such a battle. I really wanted him to win, and he was looking like he won round 1, he won round 4, but Alex just pinched all those rounds, you know. Alex was blocking the blows and he was moving out with nice head movement, and anything Diego Lopez threw at him, Alex would just counter perfectly. And on-the-fly movements is what made him a champion, or what's keeping him as a champion, is his on-the-fly countering movements and his decision-making when it comes to unforeseen techniques that Diego was capitalizing on to win against Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Diego tried so hard that in the final round he broke both his feet. He threw a right leg kick and then a left leg kick, and Alex checked him with his shin by moving his leg back, and Diego just broke both his feet. That's why he's limping out. Well, people were carrying him out on his shoulders, and I was like, wow, he's just so tired. But no, he just broke his feet. Wow. Tried so hard. Anyway, so I'm sad that Diego lost, but you know, it's still a victory for Alexander Volkanovski, and I'm proud that he also won. Now, one issue I have in this card is that they didn't give the performance of the night to Danuka and Benoit underneath. Crime, that's criminal. A bigger crime than that would possibly be murder. I don't know. But they deserve performance of the night. Both of them deserve 25k bonus. Giving the performances to Rafael Fiziev and Makrusha Rufi and Quillian Skelliet against Jamie Mullarkey proves that, or indicates and implies that Paramount Studios or Paramount Plus favor performances that end in a knockout, TKO, or submission. They give bonuses towards that category, not because the whole fight was entertaining and spectacular and you had highlights, but it didn't end in one of those ways. They won't give you the performance bonus. So in other words, you could have the most boring fight on the earth, but if it ends in a submission, look who, you have a performance bonus. It's looking to shape up to be that way, and if it is, then it's going to incentivize the fighters to really push for a finish. It's going to incentivize that, which is not bad. It makes the fights more entertaining, but also you could have a boring match and you could both give it your all but still not get a performance bonus if you don't end in the finish. That's sort of counterintuitive to the sport. But anyway, it's Paramount's right to do so because they have bought the media rights. Anyway, so that was just my prediction overview for UFC 325, and now we go on to the UFC Fight Night. Sunday, February the 8th, 3 a.m. in the morning, standard time. In South Africa, it's 12 o'clock midnight. Main card set to start at 3 in the morning. Now, my first prediction here is going to be, let me just find it quickly. Here we go. It is Jakub Viklax against Muin Gafarov from Tajikistan. Now, Jakub, he previously fought Patchy Mix, and I believe that the UFC were feeding him to Patchy to sort of bump Patchy up the ladder, since Patchy Mix was the greatest thing to ever come out of Bellator, you know, and PFL. And then when the UFC finally got him, we all thought, wow, this is a true champion coming. Let's see how an outside UFC champion competes with UFC champion. So they fed him the first guy. I think the first guy they fed him was Mario Batista. Mario destroyed him. It wasn't even close. And then we could sort of attribute that loss from Patchy to his new swimming aids to help him in the UFC. It was his match to sort of bring awareness and experience to what UFC could be, so we allowed that loss, you know. So then his next opponent, they really cherry-picked and brought out a weakling, Jakub. Now, Jakub destroyed him. He just destroyed him, unanimous decision. Wow, how weak is Patchy Mix, man? How weak is he? A nice cut from the UFC. Good. Wow, that's why you can't have these fighters who are world champions in every regard outside the UFC, then make a big name of themselves, come into the UFC when they get a contract, and then proclaim themselves as the greatest thing to have ever done it. no, you have to humble yourself when you come to the UFC, because people there have expert techniques, and you're not just entering the UFC as a champion. When you walk in those doors, you are not a champion until you fight for that belt. So regardless of if you were a previous champion, in the eyes of the UFC, you are nobody until you get that belt. And who I think, but otherwise, Jacob fighting Moeen tomorrow will be Jacob's victory. I think he's going to win. And they're both evenly matched, so there's not much to say on this. I think the Poland fighter, Jacob, will win just because he's fought harder opponents. I think experience will just bring him the win. Not much to say, but if we move on to Daniil Donchenko from Ukraine against Alex Morono from the United States of America. Now, I really be looking forward for Daniil Donchenko fighting again. I watched his performances in TUF, the UFC Ultimate Fighter. He won against that Brazilian guy and on the early prelims of one pay-per-view, and that got him the UFC contract, along with Joseph Morales having his second run at the contract. Now, I really hope Daniil wins, because I like to follow this guy from when he steps in to when he steps out. So I hope he goes all the way, getting to the welterweight title, even though he will never win it, because Islam, as long as he camps on the throne, no one's coming close. But they really are feeding him Alex Morono, because Alex is on a 3-fight losing streak. The guy's been working in the UFC since 2016, and from his past fights, he's not good. It's not good. It's not what we want, but it's what Daniil needs. It's what he needs right now, is a weakling to just get an easy victory to boost his performance, get a highlight, because he'll definitely get a highlight, because Daniil is a very explosive fighter, and the same way that Diego Lopes is an explosive fighter, and his fighting style allows for highlights to be very common. And if you look at Alex Morono, his fighting style is very solid, and he's quite old now. So I'm going to say that Daniil Donchenko will win purely because he's younger, faster, jumps higher, and he's more explosive, and he will definitely finish this fight. It will be a finish. It won't go all the way, it will be a finish. Either round 1 or round 2. So I'm hoping Daniil wins. And now we move on to the main event. I'm just going to have one prediction for the main event. And I was going to make a prediction on Marc-Andre Barriault, but I decided not to, and give my prediction on Mario Bautista against Vinicius Oliveira. Now, Mario Bautista previously fought Umar Nurmagomedov, and before that Patchy Mix, and before that Jose Aldo. Now, he did lose against Umar Nurmagomedov, but I thought that was a very split decision, at least. Not a unanimous victory for Umar, because both of them had their moments. If you look at Mario Bautista's performance against Umar Nurmagomedov, I saw a lot of takedowns that were quite good. He did land a few takedowns. His stand-up game was quite good as well, throwing effective leg kicks, solid punches. Umar, when Umar took Mario down, he was doing more control in those top mount positions, exerting that pressure that Dagestanis are well known for. Is their top mount pressure. And Mario is just a solid all-round, very good Brazilian jiu-jitsu user. And I thought he put up quite a good fight against Umar Nurmagomedov, and at least he should have gotten a split decision loss or a split decision victory. Anyway, his previous match was against Patchy Mix, so we all know how that ended, by unanimous victory. And then in 2024, October the 6th, he fought Jose Aldo, and of course that went to a victory. I don't know how it was a split decision. I saw Mario winning every round of that fight, even though it went 3 rounds. And Jose Aldo is retired now, and I think that was his retirement fight, because the guy has been fighting since the dark ages in the UFC, the dark ages. But he's fought Conor McGregor, he's fought I think Dustin Poirier, he's fought Khabib. The guy's a legend himself. Anywho, so if we look at Vinicius Oliveira, Lockdog, guy has 16 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, 14 first round finishes. Guy's a finisher, seeks a highlight, risky strategy. He previously fought Phillips and he won, defeated Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I really hoped that Saeed would win. Saeed, I think in round 2 and round 3, went for that cage grabbing where you just hold the guy against the cage. Don't take him down, but you hold him against the cage, hoping that the judges will be in the favor and in the mood to just give you the round. Because back in 2025 and 2024, judges were hard pressed to do that. I don't know if the UFC gave them an incentive to do that, but they were just giving rounds out to people who just held other people against the cage and did nothing. Didn't advance the position, just kept you against the cage, and they would just give rounds for that. So, and Saeed was doing that because, I don't know, Dagestanis love to do that. So I thought that he would win in that regard, but Vinicius won. Kudos to him. Vinicius is undefeated in the UFC. Just want to add that. And will he defend his undefeated streak in the UFC against Mario Batista? I will say no. And because of that, Mario will win UFC Fight Night, 8th of February. And it won't be a spectacular victory. I think it's going to be a very close fight. But I'm thinking that it will inch towards Mario Batista. I think his strengths lie in his ground game, and Vinicius' strengths lie in his boxing game, stand-up. I think Mario can weather the storm of the stand-up and then proceed to take him down and hopefully submit Vinicius, because I really want Mario to win, get his feet back in the UFC, get his head up after that loss against Umar, and maybe challenge Petr Yan in the future for the bantamweight title. Vinicius is on a roller coaster towards the title because the guy's undefeated in the UFC. Highlight reel, man, just look up Vinicius and you see all the highlights of him. So he's going to be risky, he's going to take a risk, looking for the performance bonus, go for a finish, but Mario's going to play it safe, going to play it solid, and Vinicius is going to overextend himself by looking for a risk and thereby allow Mario Batista to proceed with a win. So that is my prediction for UFC 300 and, well, no, it's not a pay-per-view, sorry. It's UFC Fight Night, Batista versus Oliveira, taking place on the 8th of February in the Apex Center, Las Vegas. So if you ever see a card in Las Vegas, you know Joe Rogan's going to be on commentary. I don't mind Joe Rogan on commentary, just that sometimes his commentary is a bit, it leaves a lot to be desired. I love Michael Bisping on commentary. I like him, and Daniel Cormier, of course. But I'm not fond of Daniel's language. And I will say that there's another guy, John Anik. Of course, John Anik is the voice of the UFC. Same way as Michael Cole's the voice of WWE. The next prediction I will make will be UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Anthony Fucky Hernandez. And that will be on the 22nd of February, Sunday, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay.